The interview Conte gave off the back of that 1-0 defeat to Burnley last night to my colleague Sam Matterface. Sam pushed and probed and did his job brilliantly. And Conte came back with, well, I need to think about my future. Maybe I'm not sure about things. We need to consider things. I need to speak to the people at the top of the club. All sorts of things coming out of that. But what was he actually meaning? Meantime, Tottenham in exactly the same position right now, this morning, as they were when Conte took over back in November. So what are Tottenham fans thinking about it this morning? Alex is a big Tottenham fan. Alex, good morning to you.
Hello.
Hello, good morning to you. So where are you with all this, Alex? Obviously disappointed that they lose to Burnley. But what about Conte's remarks to Sam?
I just believe, when Conte got appointed, we all sort of thought, well, he must have been given guarantees of money to go and spend, maybe not in January, but obviously in the summer. But I'm starting to think that perhaps he hadn't asked for that and he felt as though he could have worked with the players that he had on the pitch already. And now that he's got his feet under the table, he's starting to realise, actually, these players aren't good enough, and he maybe knows that he's not going to have the funds to spend in the summer to improve. So he's trying to back his way out of it now.
Yeah, but Alex, do you feel let down by him, though? Is it not down to him to get your team performing better and winning more games? You've lost 4 out of the last 5.
No, I agree. He shouldn't be coming out with stuff like this. He's the manager at the end of the day. Playing this 3-4-3 formation that he wants to play, I look at it and I think that we haven't got the players to play that formation. So why not try and change it up? May not go back to a 4-2-3-1, what the players were used to in the first place, because you need quick defenders to play that formation, and we haven't got the defenders. Sanchez isn't good enough, and Davis isn't good enough either. But he may think that he could have worked with them players, but I just think that he now realises that the players aren't good enough, and he knows that he's not going to get the funds that he needs in the summer.
Are you disappointed in Conte, Alex?
Yeah, I am, because he's the manager at the end of the day. He's responsible for everything. He's the one who should be keeping these sort of in-house matters in-house.
Yeah.
So to be coming out with stuff like this is not very responsible as a manager.
Alex, I want to thank you for your call, mate. Thanks for taking the time out. So many calls this morning on this. Trevor, big Spurs fan. Good morning to you, Trev. What's your take on it?
Good morning. My take on it is the same as Simon. It is unprofessional, childish behaviour. I totally agree with you, Simon. I think you're 100% right. I have to say that I don't think he's taking any consideration of the players or the fans into account. Saying things like that after beating Man City, and yes, it is disappointing that we lost to Burnley, and we most probably shouldn't be losing against teams like that, but he made a fundamental change in that game that I think changed the momentum of our team. He took off Emerson Royale, and at that time, we were right on the front foot, and we were pushing.
Yes.
And the problem is, he took him off, brought on Mora, and the whole dynamic of that team changed. I was on last night with Jamie and Jason.
Right.
And I'm saying very similar things, that he cannot come out and 1 minute be all euphoric about beating Man City, and the next minute being like totally depressed over a defeat. He knew when he came into the side, that when he came to take over the team, that he was going to be there. He signed a contract for 18 months. Now, it may not work this season, and unlikely to work this season, but surely he would give it a go and at least see what he gets in the summer and see how we start the next season off and see where we go. It is ultimately down to him. He is the manager, and I think he wants control, and I think he wants the players that he wants, not the players that Levy will go and buy, which I don't think he's going to get, personally, because I think Levy will obviously keep his hands in his pockets as tight as he can.
Okay.
We'll get some players, but I don't think we'll get the players that he wants. And as a supporter, it is so frustrating watching Spurs. So frustrating.
Okay, Trevor, a lot of good points. You spoke well. Thank you for that. Simon has been out. He's rejoined me. I'm going to get back to Simon in a second. Darren, you've been waiting, so we'll take your call. What do you want to say? Good morning.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I'd like to start off. My football club is a farce at the moment. It's a complete joke.
Yeah.
I was on with you when they appointed Conte.
Yes.
And unfortunately, whether you have Jose Mourinho, Pochettino, Antonio Conte, to start with number one, my first point is the players are not fit for purpose.
Yeah.
They're not good enough, and that's it.
Yeah.
And one thing that really annoys me, and call me cynical, we saw an absolutely world-class performance on Saturday by Harry Kane. The one game this season that fella has turned up in properly. And to me, it looked like the one game he tried in because he was wanting to make a point. I just think the players are disgraced.
So Darren, on Conte though, before you leave us, Conte, as you know, has he has a history of being a combustible manager.
Right.
Now that's what happened to Inter Milan. Do you fear the worst here?
Would you fear the worst? The football club is bigger than Antonio Conte, who is behaving like a child. Stop threatening, mate. You know what you were walking into when you came to Spurs. You knew what the players were like. My 7-year-old knows what those players are like. Stop threatening everybody. Stop disrespecting the fans. And if you really want to go, then walk. And my final point is, we're not a football club anymore. We're a sporting venue. Nobody cares about the fans. And I've been going to Spurs for the best part of 45 years. I've got season tickets. I've been involved with Spurs. The only reason I'm going again this season is because my 7-year-old son loves going. I've lost it with Spurs, and I'm going to tell you, you hear this from me first of all, they are going to have a massive problem with their fan base at renewal time because it's not a football club anymore.
Wow, Darren. Thank you for the call. Simon, emotions have been running high.
And they will be about their football club, yeah.
What can you add at the moment?
Look, I think there are two very different messages. I think there's the messages that Antonio Conte is imparting to the players, and there's messages that he's imparting to the media. I think his outburst yesterday was childish and temperamental, but I think it's based upon a deep-seated feeling that he's not getting enough from the players. I think he feels that there's a time to call upon the players and say to these players, and I think he touched upon it in the interview that he gave, which is that these players have played for other managers and they've produced the same sort of outcomes over the last 2 or 3 years. And I think there's an element, and I think it's an inappropriate way to do it, but I think there's an element of a call to action. I don't think we're going to see Antonio Conte leaving Tottenham Hotspur anytime soon. I don't think we're not going to see him in a dugout against Leeds. I don't think the Spurs management are going to react particularly front and centre about his outburst on television yesterday. I'm sure they think it's probably unwise, but I don't think they're going to be particularly over concerned about it. They look at it as a person that's desperate to win. He wants to win. He looks at this group of players and he thinks these group of players aren't representing what they should be representing, and he's becoming dismayed, disappointed and disgruntled by it. And you have to make that argument as well. Harry Kane has scored 7 goals in 23 games. This team is not doing what it should be doing, both...
But not as Conte.
Well, Conte can, to a point, I absolutely concur with the fact that managers have to do a certain thing. A manager's job is to lead these group of players, but there also has to come a point where the players have to be self-starters. If you want to be winners, then you have to understand what that looks like. And I do think there is a misguided, deluded approach from Antonio Conte that is what I believe that is becoming, and what I've understood it to be becoming, and just working between the lines because I'm not breaching confidences. This is a call to action. This is a call to action to the players. This isn't about a call to action to Daniel Levy. This isn't about Daniel Levy hasn't backed me and Daniel Levy isn't going to back me and Daniel Levy is a dreadful person to work for. And this isn't me defending Daniel Levy, by the other way. This is trying to read between the lines as well as speaking to people that will be able to give me an understanding far more compelling than some of the conjecture that we're putting out there. I don't think Antonio Conte is going to be leaving Tottenham Hotspur anytime soon.
So do you
my original
get the impression that the ownership, Simon, at Tottenham are quite relaxed about what Conte said to Sam Matterface and others last night?
I don't think they think it was the greatest thing to have said. I don't think they think it should be said in the fashion that it was said, but I think they also know the animal they've got on their hands. And I think what you've got, the more I look into it, the more I think about it, and the more I examine it and do it critically, as well as making some proper discussions with people that might be able to give me the thought process. It isn't about Manchester United and clubs going to perhaps taking them somewhere else, as I was alluding to. This is about a frustrated manager looking at this group of players and saying, I've never encountered a group of players like this. You have a mentality of a certain type and you're not doing it and you're not listening to me. And, we're going to have a change and you guys are going to have to look in the mirror. Now, whether people like to hear that, I absolutely believe that Conte's outburst was deeply inappropriate yesterday. I think it puts the cat amongst the pigeons. I think it creates a scenario where it becomes all about Conte. It brings the club into disrepute. But I don't think we have an imminency of Antonio Conte departing. I think we have an absolute call to action, as much as one can do in the media, to the players. This is about the players, and the key sentiment that I took out of scenario yesterday was this group of players have done it before. And all of them are in it. Harry Kane's in it. We make an excuse for Harry Kane because he's the England captain. He scored 7 goals in 23 games.
Yeah, but Conte's in it as well, Simon. Has paid a king's ransom to get it going.
So if Conte's methodology, as Machiavellian or as misguided as we think it is, because it was an outburst that creates this kind of dialogue, is to call the players out, to turn around and say, I am not prepared to work with a group of players like you. This feels like a more elevated version of what Brendan Rodgers said, which is about the players. This isn't good enough. You lot are getting away with murder, and people like me are taking the blame for it. And I can do so much. I don't like some of the things he said. I thought it was ridiculous what he said about Mura when they got knocked out by his Portuguese team in the Euro Conference League, and he talked about being a magician. No, I won't have that. Do I think he should be saying the things he said? No, but I think that there's a grown-up mentality inside football clubs that go, all right, it's a silly thing to have said. You're temperamental, you're highly strung, you're highly motivated, but what you are is a winner. And I think I'll be very surprised to see any sea change in the Tottenham management over the foreseeable weeks. So by the sounds
of it then, Tottenham will go with Conte to Elland Road at the weekend to take on Leeds. Saturday, 12:30 kick-off. It's live and exclusive on talkSPORT. And again, we played you that interview that Sam Matavese conducted last night with Antonio Conte in full, so that nothing, absolutely nothing, could be taken out of context, because we are all about balance.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.